Investigators searching for the person who gunned down popular Conservative activist Charlie Kirk say they postponed a news conference that was scheduled to take place last hour due to what they're calling rapid developments in the case. The FBI released these images of someone they are describing as a person of interest. They're offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of the suspect. Authorities say they have made several breakthroughs.
This morning I can tell you that we have recovered what we believe is the weapon that was used in yesterday's shooting. It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle. That rifle was recovered in a wooded area where the shooter had fled.
Well, Kirk was speaking to a large crowd at a Utah college on Wednesday when he was shot in broad daylight. Police say they have what they're calling good video of the suspect, who they believe is of college age.
Shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood. Our investigators have worked through those neighborhoods, contacting anybody they can with doorbell cameras, witnesses, and have thoroughly worked through those communities, trying to identify any leads.
Well, this video footage shows a dark shape, possibly a person lying down on the roof of a building near the shooting. It's the same roof someone was seen running from in another clip after the shot rang out. I want to bring in Tom Verney. He's a former detective for the New York Police Department and a law enforcement consultant. Tom, thanks so much for being with us. And as we read the tea leaves here, you know, as this manhunt continues now into its 24th hour, we heard investigators saying that they were going to be postponing this press conference due to rapid developments in the case. That's what they said. What does that signal to you?
Thank you for having me. And my condolences to the Kirk family for this horrible scenario that played out yesterday. So yeah, look, if they had they may have a person of interest, possibly at this point. But are not yet ready to say that they've made an actual arrest of the person, because they may be waiting for additional evidence to do that. Again, you would need probable cause to actually effect an arrest to show that the person has. There's enough evidence to show that the person is connected with this incident. So they're probably waiting for that, or they're still actively tracking this person down. So they may know who the person is at this point, possibly, and are trying to find the location of this person. Now, as I mentioned last night on CNN International, and I correctly made the assumption that this was a long gun that was used, which is what it was, of course, given the distance from where the shooter was to where Mr. Kirk was. And then also, you know, I had mentioned trying to gather as much physical evidence, ballistic evidence, as well as video evidence as possible to do what would be known as a grid search, to try to track the movements of where the person was or thought to have been when the shooting took place to where they may have fled to. And that's what's been happening over the last 24 hours. You know, unfortunately, unlike television shows where this is wrapped up in 43 minutes without the commercials, you know, these investigations are pretty arduous and take quite a while to put together. And we're talking about an area that's pretty vast as well.
Yeah. And to your point about, you know, the details we're learning from the investigation that's ongoing, I mean, we now know what gun was used, this bolt-action rifle. And we also know that the shooter was able to hit his target with, you know, incredible accuracy. Does all of that help us to build a picture as to who this suspect might have been?
Yeah, I mean, if this person has had some sort of formal training with firearms, if this person is old enough to have maybe been in the military at one point, these are all questions as to who this person is and what sort of skill sets do they have. So for the public, when they see the pictures that have been released of this individual, if you start to connect the dots here, like, who do I know that sort of fits the physical description of who they're looking for, right? And this person, in many cases, I don't know if it's the case here, but in a lot of these types of shootings that happen here in the United States, many times the perpetrators have left some sort of messaging, either whether it's a physical manifesto or scrolling of some sorts, to online social media postings, whether it be Facebook, X or TikTok or wherever it may be, Instagram. So there's usually breadcrumbs floating around somewhere. It's just a matter of connecting all of those dots. And now that the pictures are out there, people are probably going to be wondering, like, who this person is. Oh, is this my neighbor? Kind of looks like that, or I know someone at school that looks like that. And oh yeah, I think they have a rifle, or I've seen them go out and shoot before, or they know they've gone hunting before. So those are the sort of bits and pieces that are trying to be put together at this time. Mm-hmm. And there are a number of people in all different agencies helping to work on this case, local, state, and federal authorities. So the hope is that this person could be apprehended relatively quickly.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, we're 24 hours now into this manhunt. Given what you know of the state of Utah, what is the likelihood that he has been able to flee the state or even the country at this point? I mean, it's been a day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is always possible that they have had enough time to do that. It is very likely that they would have sort of put the hammer down as far as closing, having the borders sort of given a once over or twice over, but people leaving the borders, given the circumstances in this case, to be on the lookout for anyone who might fit that description or look suspicious or what have you. And given the location of where this took place, there's a main highway there where you could either flee north or south. For you to flee east or west, you'd have to go through some pretty rough terrain, open terrain there. So the likelihood is that if you're going to flee and you want to flee quickly, you want to do that in a vehicle. And to do that, you're either going north or south. And then I believe the next closest city is Salt Lake City. So the authorities there, of course, are going to be put onto alert of what took place at the college, and then be on the lookout for someone who is sort of acting odd or driving erratically or wherever it may be, and that person's not going to want to sort of make them put themselves under a spotlight, so they're going to traverse the area very carefully if they want to make a clean getaway.
Well, we will wait to see, I guess, when that press conference happens. Presumably it will be soon or at some point in the next few hours. But for now, Tom, it's great to have your thoughts on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, Charlie Kirk was a big supporter of President Donald Trump and a close Trump family friend. Sources tell CNN his remains will be flown on Air Force 2 today from Utah to Arizona, where he lived. The president says he plans to honor Kirk's memory.
I have no doubt that Charlie's voice and the courage he put into the hearts of countless people, especially young people, will live on. I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
CNN senior White House correspondent Kristen Holmes is joining me now. And I guess, Kristen, as we consider the day's events there, the fact that Charlie Kirk's remains will be flown on Air Force 2, just another sign of the closeness he had to the Trump administration.
Yeah, they're treating him as though he was part of their family. And when you hear from Don Jr., when you hear from Donald Trump, when you even hear from the staffers and the advisors, he was part of the family. There was just an interview that Trump's son, Don Jr., did on a podcast in which he said that he and Charlie Kirk spoke almost every day for the last 10 years. He said that he called him a little brother, that he felt like he was part of his family. And again, this is just another showing of how they felt and the closeness they had with this conservative activist. One thing to keep in mind here, it's not just that the remains are being flown on Air Force 2, it's that Vice President J.D. Vance was supposed to go to New York for 9/11 anniversary events or commemoration events, and instead, because of yesterday, flew out to Utah to meet with Kirk's family, a family that he and his family are incredibly close to, and then fly the remains back down to Arizona, where Charlie Kirk is from and where he is based. faced. So again, they are going out of their way here to show how important Kirk was to them. And the part of this that I think, we touched on is that it's not just political. Everyone within Trump's administration credits Charlie Kirk, at least in part, with helping Trump win 2024, particularly when it came to young voters. He devised an entire system in Arizona to flip that state red, and also use that same mechanism in various other states to get young people out to vote. He was part of a strategy, and a successful strategy. There's also just a personal aspect of all of this, which was that there was a belief inside the administration that Charlie Kirk was their friend. And I'm talking about wide ranging here. People who knew him well, people who didn't know him that well. And on top of that, they believed that he had his finger on the pulse of the MAGA movement, particularly when it came to young people. There was a reliance on him. They took him seriously. He was a thinker. He would put out thought-provoking information, and they listened to him. They respected him. And that went all the way up to the President of the United States, which that respect with President Trump does not always go both ways, but in this case, it certainly did.
And, Kristen, we've seen in the aftermath of this shooting a lot of anger, a lot of finger pointing, a lot of accusations coming from lawmakers in Washington. How much is that kind of muddying the water or complicating the picture as this manhunt for the suspect is still active and still continuing?
I do think there's a lot of grief going on right now. I think yesterday was a day of profound sadness for people who were close to Charlie Kirk and for conservative activists. I think that today you're seeing a lot more of the anger. The question is really how that plays out in the days to come. I will tell you that this White House and the lawmakers, even the ones that are out there kind of using vitriolic language, everybody wants to see this investigation come to a close. They want answers on what happened and how this happened. I think the movement part, when you talk about how this is going to look going forward, well, that we're not there yet. We're not there yet to see if people can tone down the rhetoric, to see if they can try and get away from this period of political violence that we're in. But right now, what I've seen the focus be on is this anger, but also frustration that they don't have more answers.
Yeah, understandable. Kristen Holmes there from Washington. We appreciate it, Kristen. Thanks.